Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel, mgrahamsews. This tutorial is for this fantastic wallet called the Wonder Wallet, and it's by the MakeSpace. This wallet is a great sew. I love that it's slim, so it fits nicely inside your purse or bag without taking up too much space, but it holds a lot. So the closure is a wallet frame closure. When you open up the wallet, you will find 12 card slots. And I'll just put one of my cards in for you to see. The cards fit in nicely. So you have 12 card slots through the wallet, so we'll hold a lot of cards. We have a zipper pocket, perfect for coins or anything else that you want to put in there. We also have a slip pocket here for your bills. And then you have these two other compartments on either side of the card slots, between the card slots and the zipper pocket, where you can put bills or anything else that you want to hold in your wallet. Even a pen, I will show you, a pen fits. So I'll close it up. Even a pen, I have a pen in there. So that's perfect because oftentimes I'm out and I'm looking for a pen, so I like to have a pen handy in case I have to sign anything or I need to write something down. So it's a really fantastic sew. It's a really great wallet. Like I said, it's slim, so it can just be thrown into the bottom of your bag and it won't take up any room, but it holds a lot. This really does come together fairly quickly, and once you make one, you're going to want to make a whole bunch of them because they're really fun to make, and you can make them in all different kinds of materials. So I used a soft vinyl here for my exterior and a quilting cotton for the lining. You can make it all out of quilting cotton. If your machine can handle it, you can use vinyl and canvas, but again, that all depends on if your machine can handle it. So it is a really great sew, and we're going to make this wallet together right now. So let's get started. So the very first thing you'll want to do, as always, is read through the entire pattern. This is very important because oftentimes designers give information regarding different interfacings you're using, different materials. So sometimes, depending on the materials you're using, pattern pieces may need to be cut differently or interfacing may need to be cut differently. So it's really important to make note of this before you begin cutting out your pattern pieces. It also familiarizes you with the pattern, so you'll know what's going to be happening during construction, because oftentimes, sometimes one step won't make sense, but when you get to the next step, it ends up making sense. So you'll definitely want to do that. It's also handy because when you read through, after you have your pattern pieces all cut out, you can go back and make any markings that you need to make. Another thing you'll want to do is mark all your pattern pieces with what the pattern piece is. So for example, this is pattern piece A. I've marked an A on the pattern piece so that I know what pattern piece it is when I go to use the pattern or the pieces. And that just helps with confusion because sometimes there's pieces that may be cut sort of similar. So it's just nice to have it so that you don't get confused. There are labels you can use, but you can also use a piece of painter's tape and mark what it is and just stick it on your pattern piece. So once you have everything cut out and you're ready to get started, the very first thing we need to do is interface some pattern pieces. Now I'm using quilting cotton for my interior and soft vinyl for my exterior. And soft vinyl is like quilting cotton interfaced. It's got that same weight. So I never add interfacing to my soft vinyl, an extra interfacing when I'm using it, unless it's for an exterior where you're using foam or Decoville. Anyways, I didn't add interfacing to this because, like I said, it's a soft vinyl and it doesn't need the interfacing. It's already like an interfaced quilting cotton. And as you can see, it squishes up and it sews really beautifully. I really like using soft vinyl because I like that I don't have to add that extra interfacing. So I'm using soft vinyl for my exterior, but if you're using quilting cotton for your exterior, you do need to interface your interfacing to the wrong side of your pattern piece. And you're going to fuse it so it is centered. So when it's centered, you're going to have like a little frame around the edges where there is no interfacing. So around the edges, there's going to be no interfacing. And the reason for that is it helps reduce bulk in the seams so that it's easier to sew. So that piece, so piece A needs its interfacing. And then you have piece D, and I'm just going to find it here. So then we have piece D. And this is piece D. There are 4 of them, and you're going to also center the interfacing on piece D. Now, to note, piece D has triangles cut out in the bottom corners, so you'll want to make sure the interfacing only has those triangles cut out, not your actual piece out of your cotton, just the interfacing in the corners of the interfacing, and you can see it there. And again, you're going to have that little frame all the way around when you center it on the pattern piece. You then need to interface or fuse the interfacing to piece C. Now, there's a measurement in the pattern from the top down. What I did was I marked a T on the top and I measured down, and then I fused my interfacing in place. So it's really important to mark a T because that is the top, and you don't want to end up, when we go to sew this together, you don't want to put it at the bottom and then your top doesn't have interfacing. So definitely mark a T at the top so you know that this is the top. You'll probably remember because of the interfacing being here, but I know sometimes even with the interfacing there and I get sewing and I get in my groove, I end up forgetting and I flip it around. So I always mark a T. So you'll use the measurement in the pattern for how far down this is going to go, and you're going to fuse it in place at that measurement. So again, piece A will have interfacing attached, centered. The 4 pieces of D will have interfacing attached, centered. And piece C, the 2 of them, will have interfacing fused from the measurement down from the top. So once you have those fused, do not fuse any other interfacing until we get to it in the pattern. So the next thing we're going to go to is our card slots. That's what we're going to start with. And I know sometimes card slots can seem a bit confusing, and I'm going to try to do this so that it's not as confusing for you. Now, I've already pressed and fused my interfacing to my card slots. As you'll see, I'm trying to refold it here. I've already pressed and fused my card slot interfacing and everything, and that's just because my iron is off camera and it just makes it easier for me getting up and down. It just causes a little bit more pain for me to keep getting up and down. So I try to fuse everything that I can before I start filming, but I am going to walk you through so that you can do this along with me. So the very first thing you're going to do is take your card slot piece and you're going to mark a T at the top. This is very important. You want to make sure you have a T on both pieces at the top. Once you have that marked, then you're going to take your ruler and measure from the top down, and you're going to mark the lines at the given measurements in the pattern. So from the top down, you'll measure, make the first mark. Take the second measurement in the pattern, measure down from the top, and make the next mark. It's always from the top, always. So top down, first measurement, top down, second measurement, top, third, and so on and so forth. So always from the top down, you will make those marks. So I've made my marks. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have my 6 marks made all the way down. Once you have those marks made, you're then going to fold your pattern piece at those marks. And to note, in the pattern, there are 3 measurements that are highlighted. Those 3 measurements are going to be folded so that the pattern piece, your fabric, is wrong sides together. So for the very first line here, and I did want to note too, the other thing I did was, it does say a Frixion pen is not recommended. However, what I did was I flipped my pattern piece over and I knew the top was here, and I took my chalk pen and I actually marked on the right side with my chalk pen. And I did use my Frixion pen on the wrong side. Now, the reason why a Frixion pen isn't recommended for the wrong side is because as you're pressing, you can accidentally hit it, and you can erase, because the Frixion pen erases with heat, you can erase those lines. I was just very careful when I was pressing. I just press like this. So I fold my fabric so that first line goes right sides together, and I press just along this edge, avoiding touching any other spot on the material. So say this is my iron, I'm like this with my iron. So I'm avoiding touching any of the other marks. And then I knew that this one was going to be folded wrong sides together, and I can see that mark because I had chalk. I just find it's really hard when you're folding with your fabric wrong sides together to really get it really nice, because it's hard to see the line when you're folding wrong sides together. So you're looking like this and you're looking like that. It's just easier when the line is on this side. So then what I did was I folded it at that line, and again, I pressed, I'm going to use the white, I pressed just along the edge so that I'm not touching any of the other fabric, and that helped prevent erasing any of my other lines. So that's what I did. I just find it's easier when I have the lines on both sides, and then also if I accidentally do touch anywhere else on the material, I have those lines marked in chalk on the other side. And the nice thing about chalk is it just brushes off, so you don't see it in the end. So back to pressing. So now that we have all our lines made, we're going to take that first line and we're going to press it so our fabrics are right sides together. So they are going right sides together, just like that. So I have it, when I flip it over, they're right sides together. So you're going to fold it and press at that line, right sides together, the first line. The second line, right here, this is going to be wrong sides together. Now remember, this is a highlighted line, so it is wrong sides together. Your fabric is wrong sides together. You're going to then take it and fold it at that line and press it so it is wrong sides together. So I have my right sides together and my wrong sides together here. My third line is now going to be right sides together. So I'm going to take it and fold it right sides together right there. And you'll see it's getting smaller as we're folding it. Now we're back at the fourth line that is highlighted. And again, remember, that gets pressed wrong sides together. Press it. We have our fifth line, right sides together. Press it. Then we have our sixth and final line, and again, wrong sides together. That's one of the highlighted lines. And you'll have a piece just like this. So you'll have three, as I like to call them, hills. So you have the three hills, 1, 2, 3 hills, and then you have 1, 2, 3 valleys. So hills are the pieces that were pressed wrong sides together, and the valleys are the parts that, the lines, sorry, that were pressed right sides together. So just like that. And you can take this, once you have it all pressed and folded like this, and what I like to do is give it an extra really good press. So I take my iron and I press it really well on both sides just to get it as flat and as crisp as possible. Sometimes what I like to also do, because I don't keep steam in or water in my iron, is I spritz it with a water bottle and then I give it a really good press with that. And what the water does is it really helps keep those lines nice and crisp and pressed. I didn't do it here. I should have, but I didn't because I forgot. But again, you can do that with some steam or, like I said, with a water bottle and press it. So that's how you press those lines. And I'll do it one more time with you just to make sure that it was explained, and just for those, because sometimes it can be confusing. So again, card slots wrong side up, the top is up here. First line, press it right sides together. So you saw I tucked that part under. Right sides together, and you'll see on this side, now I'm looking at the wrong side, but the right side. Flip it back over, I want it wrong sides up. Second line, wrong sides together. Third line, right sides together. Fourth line, wrong sides together. Fifth line, right sides together. Sixth line, wrong sides together. And you have a piece that'll look like this, a little piece just like that. Now, once you have all those lines pressed, flip your pattern piece back over to the wrong side, and there are some interfacings that we need to fuse to the wrong side of our pattern piece. And the smaller pieces of interfacing are going to be fused slightly below those lines that were highlighted. So you can see it here. I have 1 here, 2 here, 3 here. And those are the pieces that were folded wrong sides together. So you remember we did it right sides, and then that piece went wrong sides together. So that's where they're going to be, just under that line, under. So you see mine folds like this, and I have my interfacing here, under the line. So you'll fuse those 3 at those highlighted lines just slightly below. Then we have the larger interfacing. You're going to fuse that right at the bottom. So your pattern piece will look like this. One smaller, another smaller, another smaller, and then at the bottom you have another another interfacing at the bottom. So you'll fuse those all. So again, those 3 smaller ones are fused just below the highlighted lines. So there's my highlighted line, and there's my interfacing right here. Interfacing, line, interfacing. And then you can give this all a press again. So fold it all up. What am I doing? Fold it all up and give it another really good press. And I like to press and make sure that my pattern pieces are the same width and height, so the same height when I'm doing that. I like to make sure, just to ensure that it is. So I'm going to actually go give this a spritz with the water, and I'm going to press it really good so it's nice and flat. And I'll be right back. All right, so I've given them that extra really good press, so now they're nice and flat, as you can see here. So the next thing we need to do is top stitch, and we're going to top stitch those 3 areas that were pressed, the highlighted lines that were pressed wrong sides together. So these 3, as I like to call them, hills. So the 3 here that stick up, we're going to top stitch those. So change your stitch length to your favorite stitch length for top stitching. And top stitch all the way across. And don't forget to back stitch at start and stop. So there's 3 done on that one. What's going on with my thread here? Now we'll trim all our threads, giving it a little haircut. You might want to trim any threads that are fraying, just so that they don't show up in your seams after. You don't want those little peekaboo threads later. So give your whole piece a little haircut. Oops, I forgot one. And then I will trim this up. Just cutting all my threads right now. There's quite a bit, just making sure I get everything, because I don't want peekaboo threads later. That one didn't want to cut. There we go. Oh, I see one here. And one here. There we go. So there it is. Oh, how did I miss so many? So there it is. They're all top stitched, so I'll get closer so you can kind of see. I hope you can see it. I know I'm using a darker thread. I should have used a lighter one. But I've top stitched 1, 2, 3, and those are the highlighted lines that we've top stitched. So now we need to measure our card slots to make sure that it measures the measurement given in the pattern. So I'm going to go off camera. I'm going to quickly measure, and if it is not, you will trim it so that it is at the measurement given. And I just want to see which side you're going to trim from before I give you the wrong. So it says it should measure tall at the ending of the folding, so from down here. So I would cut from the top, because your bottom has that interfacing. So I would cut the little bit off the top if you need to. But that's the other thing. When I'm folding my pattern piece, I make note of what the size is, and I try to make sure I have it at that size as I'm going, so I don't need to trim anything, just for that purpose of not having to trim it down. But I will always double check to just make sure, and I will cut the little bit off the top if I need to. So I'll be right back. All right, so I've measured and I did have to trim. Now you may be wondering why I said to trim from the top. That's because we have that interfacing at the bottom and I don't want to trim off any of the interfacing. I didn't need to trim a whole lot, so that's really awesome, but I did trim it from the top. So we're going to put these to the side. Now you will repeat everything we did there for the second card slot, so you can go ahead and do that. I tend to do them at the same time so that I'm not stopping and going and coming back. I tend to do it at the same time. So you will do that for the second card slots. So next we need to mark the centers of our card slots so that we can have the pockets for the cards to slip in. So what you're going to do is you're going to mark the center of the panel and then we're going to sew. So I'm going to go off camera and I'm going to go mark the centers and then I will come back and we will sew on top. All right, so I've made the mark in the center and now I'm going to sew along the center here. But before we do that, we're going to baste each side together. So I'm just going to clip my sides. And I'm clipping at the pockets, or at the folds, sorry, so that they don't shift on me. So each of the folds are being clipped. And then I'm going to baste those together. You just don't want those moving around on you. I'll trim those threads when I'm done this one. And I'm going from the bottom up. And as you notice, I go from one side on the right side and then the other side on the wrong side just to keep from things from shifting on me again. I don't want anything to shift. Trim all my threads. And now we're going to sew up that center to the top of the top card slot to divide these slots. So we're going to sew up that line that we made. And don't forget to backstitch when you get to the top card slot. Just because there's going to be a lot of stress in that area, so you really want to make sure that you backstitch in that area. And I always have an extra card here with me just to measure, and everything is good, perfect. So I always measure just in case I need to make any adjustments. And you'll notice I didn't trim behind here, the threads behind. It's in the back. No one's going to see that after, so I just left it. And then I'm just going to take my sleeve. I know I have my oven mitt over there, but I don't want to have to go get it. And I'm just dusting it away. As we work with these, they will eventually dust off. And I'm just giving all the little hairs a trim. And that is it. Our card slots are done. We can put these to the side. So the very next thing we're going to do is grab our zipper, and we're going to fold the ends so that we create the stop. So you're going to fold it under at a right angle and stitch it to secure. Now I will link to a tutorial that I have for doing this so that you can easily follow along with that tutorial for pinching and creating that 90-degree angle on our zippers. So I'm just doing that now. And it's harder. I'm used to working with the bigger zippers, but I've got it. You're just creating a little triangle and you're folding it back onto itself and you're creating that little stop. Now, Do not pin your finger to the zipper. And then we stitch on top. And when I get to the pin, I just remove my pin. Move the pin again. And then I'll cut all my threads. And again, I'll post a little tutorial that I have for how I fold my zipper under so that you can follow along if you're not familiar with how to do this. And that's how it'll look when you've stitched it under, and you'll see there. Now, you will need to trim your zipper. There is a measurement given in the pattern, and you'll need to trim your zipper to that length. So I'm just going to pause the camera. I'm going to go and measure. I kind of measured here, and it looks like it might be exactly the length needed, but I'm just going to make sure off camera, and then I'll come back and we will continue on. All right, so I've measured my zipper to ensure that it is the correct length. I did have to trim that little bit off, so that's good that I went off to double check. So we'll put the zipper to the side for now. We need to grab our zipper tab, and I already have mine folded, but I'll walk you through what we need to do. So on the wrong side of the zipper tab, it's a small piece just like this. You're going to make 2 marks from the short ends. So there's a measurement you need to make from the short end over and draw your line on both short ends. So from this short end over and this short end over. Then what you'll do is you'll fold the short end to meet that line. So it'll fold over to meet that line just like that. And you'll press it. Once you have that pressed, you'll then fold it in half. So the folded edges meet, and you'll fold it in half, and you'll have a little piece that looks like this. And those folded edges are tucked under here. Once you have that done, we'll then take the tab and we'll measure and make sure that it's the correct measurement. Which mine is. That's awesome. I always like to measure just in case. Now we're going to grab some basting tape. And we're going to place it on our zipper tab on the edge where we folded. So just like this, I'll show you in a second. Just cut it. So see how I put the tape on those 2 short edges? So give it a press and then remove the paper backing from one side. And then what we're going to do is we're going to place our zipper, lining it up with that edge that we folded. Don't go any further. So just like that. So see how it lines up with that edge that I folded there? So it's folded to that folded edge. So just like that. So the folded edge is where it lines up with. Then we'll take the other side, remove the paper backing, and you'll fold it over, and again, you'll be able to line up your zipper, the short end of your zipper, with the short end of the tab. Make sure everything's nice and straight. It's sticking to me more than it's sticking to the zipper. I can't get it to let go of me. Just like that. And it'll look like that when you're done. And then there's a measurement given in the pattern for how long your zipper should be, which mine is. And if it is, then we can go ahead and top stitch this tab down. And you'll notice what I did there was I didn't backstitch on this, and that's just because I find sometimes with the zipper teeth, the machine has a hard time going backwards. You could use a humper jumper, but what I do is I just, with my needle down, lift my presser foot up, I pivot my zipper around, and then I go back over it and backstitch that way. And that's how it will look when your zipper is done with your tab attached. And you'll notice my zipper pull is a different color. I just thought it'd be really pretty with the material to highlight both the colors, or some of the colors that are in the material. So again, I'm just checking, yes, everything's good. So now the next step we need to do is add a line of basting tape to the top raw edge of one zip pocket C. So I need to find zip pocket C, and I believe zip pocket C was the one that I added. Yes, I can see it here. So basting tape to the top raw edge, and we need it centered. So I'm going to grab my marking tool and I'm going to mark the center. So I didn't do that yet on this, and I should have, but I forgot. And I'm going to grab my other C piece, do the same. Oh, sorry, these aren't slip pocket C's, these are slip pocket D's. Excuse me, I'm doing the wrong thing. I have my cursor over the pattern, and it was covering it to make it look like a C instead of a D. I'm very sorry. So D, do not use C, use D. My mistake. I'm sure many of you were yelling at the screen that it was D, not C. So pattern piece D, but still it's good to mark your centers on all of those pattern pieces. I hadn't yet. And as you'll notice, I'm just folding, creating a little crease, and then I'm marking. I knew something was wrong. I'm like, this doesn't look like it's how the zipper pocket was. And then I'm going to do the same thing with my zipper. I'm going to fold it and mark the centers on the wrong side within the seam allowance. And if I can't see this, I'm going to extend it into the interfacing. There we go. All right, so all D and C are even marked now. So again, I'm going to apply a line of basting tape to the top raw edge, and then I'll put the zip right sides together, matching and centers. Matching it and centered. So I'll make sure I'm at the top. Now remember, D has those little triangle cutouts. So you want to ensure that those little triangle cutouts are at the bottom. I'm just going to cut that before that ends up peekabooing through the zipper. I forgot to fold that edge down. So now our zipper is going to go right sides together, and we're going to match up those center marks. It always grabs my nails and sticks to my nails. There we go. Now we're going to add another line of basting tape. And I'm going to make that tab I usually make. I forgot to do that. Just makes it easier for pulling off. So another line of basting tape on top of the zipper. So remember, the zipper is right sides together with the first D we put down. Now we're seeing the wrong side of the zipper and the right side of D. This is really sticky tape. We need another D, and we're going to again line up those center marks, line up our side edges, and the top raw edge, line it all up, press it together just like that. Oh, oh. See what I mean? It's so sticky. It sticks to me, it sticks to everything. And sometimes it doesn't even want to stick to the fabric. Now I'm going to switch to a zipper foot because it's just easier to sew zippers with your zipper foot. And we're going to sew along that top edge through all the layers using the seam allowance given in the pattern. Now you'll want to be careful when you get to your zipper pull, so slide your zipper pull out of the way. And then I'm approaching my zipper pull, so I'm going to stop with my needle down, lift up my presser foot, and slide my zipper pull again out of the way. And that way there I can continue stitching all the way across. Now we're going to fold the layers back so they are wrong sides together. And we need to press this and then top stitch. However, I'm going to wait and I'm going to sew the other side to it so that I can get up and press at the same time rather than getting up and pressing at two different times. It's just a lot of getting up and down. But what you'll do is you'll take this to your iron, you'll press it, and then you'll top stitch through these edges here at the measurement given in the pattern. So I'm going to repeat that for the second side, and then I'll top stitch. I just, again, find it easier than getting up and down. Just do it all at once. So again, basting tape. Where is the beginning? And if you want, you don't want to use basting tape because you're used to sewing zippers. Often I don't, because this here I would just clip and then I would baste it in place rather than using basting tape. But for the tutorial, because this is what is in the instructions, this is what I'm doing. But normally what I would do is clip it with clips and then I would baste it with a line of sewing. And that would hold it in place. And the basting stitches I always sew so that they are going to be kept out of the seam. It is a smaller width. Something is not lining up right here. There we go. I'm making sure when I'm doing this too that my sides all line up. So the sides line up together. This tape is harder to rip than the other ones. And again, right sides together with the wrong side of the zipper. So the zipper went right sides down originally against the right side of D, and now it is right sides together, and we've created a little zipper sandwich. And I'm going to sew this just as we did the first time, back stitching at start and stop. I'm going to move my zipper pull out of the way. I'm not really close to it, but I just want it out of the way so I don't have to worry about it. And then I will take this to my iron and I will press it all nice and flat, and then I'll come back and we will top stitch. I'll also change my foot before I come back. So I'm going to go press this and then we will top stitch it. All right, so I've given this a really good press. Now we can top stitch on both sides of the zipper, sorry. Don't forget to back stitch at start and stop. And if your pull is dangly, you'll want to zip it out of the way so you don't accidentally hit it and break a needle or damage your machine. Now we're going to trim our threads. And I'm giving it a little haircut again. I do find it tends to fray a little bit. This one's stuck in the zipper. There we go. Oh, maybe I should do both sides, eh? There we are. That's how it looks when it is top stitched, both sides. So we're going to place this to one side for now. So I'm placing it with my prepared card slots. We're basically building all the pieces for the interior of the lining. Now we need to grab our slip pocket, and those are C pieces. This time I am right. Those are C pieces, and we're going to place them right sides together, matching the interfaced edges. So I'm pinning it together. And we're going to sew the top edge only. So return your stitch length if you've changed it for top stitching back to your length you use for stitching a bag together. Trim your threads. And then we're going to take this to our iron and we're going to turn it so that they are wrong sides together. Why are my hands not working? We're going to turn it wrong sides together and press it. So what I like to do first is I like to press this seam open, then I'll press it together, wrong sides together, and that just helps get a really nice press at the top. So I'm going to go do that and then I'll come right back. All right, so I've given that a press. Now I'm going to top stitch that top edge that we sewed together. So all the way across. I've returned my stitch length back to my length I like to use, just so I don't forget. And there it is, all top stitched. You can see, I can get it apart, the top edge that we stitched. Now, we're going to grab back our zip pocket that we constructed earlier, or just a few moments ago. And we're going to place this slip pocket on top of one of the pair of panels. So on one side, whichever side you want, and you're going to match up your bottom raw edges and clip it together. So matching up the bottom raw edges, so those long raw edges, and then clip it together and clip it at the sides as well. And now what we're going to do is we're going to sew around, basting it in place. And I can see I didn't snip these stitches very well. These threads, sorry, not stitches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to baste my bottom first. And you can actually use a longer stitch length for this because it's just being basting stitches, which is holding this together. So I'm stitched along the bottom. And now I'm going to stitch up the one side. And I'll explain in a moment why I did it this way. And now I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to stitch up the second side. Oh, that's a long thread. And I can feel where that pocket ends, so I know where to stop stitching. Now you may be wondering why I did it that way, and the reason for that is just to prevent this pocket from shifting on me, because sometimes I find when we go down one side, across the bottom, and then back up the other side, all in one go, you end up getting a shifting of your pocket. And this way here, when you stitch the bottom and then up one side, that prevents it from shifting. Another option is start in the center, stitch over, go up the one side, back stitch, then start in the center here again, back stitch, stitch over, and go up the other edge. Either way works, but I like to go along the bottom, up one side, back stitch, then flip it over and sew up this side. and that just prevents any shifting on me. So there it is. I probably should have used a different color for the slip pocket, but I really, really love this Anna Maria fabric, so I really wanted it. It's really pretty, but you can tell right there, we have our little slip pocket, and it's just been basted in place. Now we're going to fold the layers of the slip pocket over so that it's sandwiched between the layers of the zip pocket. So we're going to fold this over, one of the layers of the zip pocket over, so that it has just one layer of the zip pocket. And I'm just making sure. So you're taking one layer of the zip pocket. So slip pocket right now is facing up at me. Here's my slip pocket. I'm taking one layer of the zip pocket that is above, bringing it down over the slip pocket so that it's sandwiched between the layers. So you're bringing that one down, and I'm just going to clip it in place. I'm sorry, I was just reading. I just want to make sure I'm giving you the correct instructions. So I have it pinned along the bottom edge. Now we still have this piece here. So what we're going to do is bring this one down and over and line up those bottom edges again. Line up all your bottom edges, clip it in place. Use some clips to hold the sides. And I'm using my finger to flatten it. There we go. You can even open your zipper a little bit if you'd like, which I think I will, just to make sure my pull is out of the way. Where is my zipper pull? It's so funny. There it is. Okay. All right, so there it is. So I've opened up my zipper. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. I'm just trying to get everything nice and flat under here. All right, so now what we need to do, now that we have that pinned just like that, so you've got one side of the zipper folded over the slip pocket and the other half of the zipper pocket, and then the other side folded. So it's got a little slip pocket sandwich in here. You've got that slip pocket sandwich in the middle. Now what we're going to do is you're going to mark from the edges on the side bottom and connect that to form a triangle. So I'm going to go off camera and I'm going to do that, and then I'll come back and I'll show you what to do. All right, so I've made those marks and I've made the little triangles, so I've connected them. So I measured from the bottom corner up, made the mark, measured from the bottom corner over and made the mark. And then I connected it to form a little triangle, and I hope you can see that triangle there. Now I'm going to sew along the triangle. And we're leaving the sides and bottoms unsewn. Oops, got to make sure I go back to my stitch length that I use. So I'm sewing along that marked edge. Trim my threads. All right, now we're going to trim the seam allowance at the corner cutouts. And I'm going to use my pinking shears. Just like that. Remove my clips, and then we're going to turn this right sides out. just like that. Trim any threads. Again, it's always helpful to trim. I know I spend a lot of time trimming, but I figure in the end it just makes sure that there's none of these threads that poke out later. Sometimes I still get them. Can't always prevent it. So that's how it looks. The bottom and the sides are not sewn. We've turned it right sides out. And now I'm going to take this to my iron and I'm going to give it a really quick press. So I'll be right back. So I've given this a really good press, and now we need to attach this to our card slots. So we'll grab our card slots. Oh, hang on, my wire is caught in my wheel. I don't want it to pull off. So we need to attach these to our card slots. So here's both our card slot piece, and it doesn't really matter at this point what side your slip pocket is going to be on, whether you're going to have it facing up when you're attaching these or whether you're going to have it facing down. That doesn't really matter right now. So what you're going to do is place your card slots so they are right sides up, and you want to make sure that the card slot pockets, I'm going to grab my little card, are facing up right now. So you can see my card facing up, and your zipper is also facing up. So this is the top of my card slots. My card slots go like this. You don't want them upside down because then you're not going to be able to get your cards in. So make sure the card slots, when you're slipping your card in, go this way. So the top is up here, and you're going to place your zipper pocket on top of the card slots, matching the centers and the bottom raw edges. So I'm going to match up the centers and the bottom raw edges. So to find your center, you can just fold this in half and mark it. I'm just going to do a little marking. And I know where my center is on this because of the stitching. So center. Clip it in place, and again making sure my card slots are facing up. And then I'm going to zip my zipper out of the way. I'm just going to make an adjustment because it doesn't seem to be quite centered. But I want it to be centered. I want everything to be perfect. Let's see. Yeah, that is actually where it should have been. All right. Now we're going to add the second card slot panel on top of this one. So you're going to place it so it is right sides down. So you're making this little zipper pocket sandwich. Clip it. Clip. And as I go along, I'm just removing the clips that I originally placed. And I'm going to clip along the sides. And I've actually made 2 of these wallets during testing 2 other ones, and it's a really cute little wallet. And I promise when you're not following along with the tutorial here, it does go a lot faster once you get used to making it. So it does go a lot faster. In the tutorial, I'm giving lots of instructions. I'm explaining the steps really thoroughly, but you'll find it does come together a lot faster than what this tutorial is showing. So now that we have that clipped together, we're going to sew along the bottom edge through all the layers. And I know I clipped the sides, but I just don't want anything to shift on me. So we're going to sew through all the layers using the seam allowance given in the pattern. And I can't really back stitch because I don't have a humper jumper either, but if you had a humper jumper or have a humper jumper, it did shift on me, you could use that. There we go. So now we need to press this seam we just created open. So I'm going to go off camera and I'm going to go do that. All right, so I've pressed that seam open, and you may be wondering, how do you do that? I just picked a way that I wanted the pocket piece to go, so I just pressed it so the pocket went whatever way was easiest to press. That's all I did. So we'll put that to the side. We are going to move on to constructing our wings, and to construct them, what we're going to do is we're going to fold the wings in half so they are right sides together. And there is a measurement in the pattern to know if you're folding them the right way, and I'm just going to double check. I know I folded these in half, but I just want to make sure that I am on the right page. Yes, so we're going to fold them in half, and then we're going to sew along the open edge only. So sew this together. To do that for the second side, and I actually press these with my iron so I don't have to use any clips. We're going to turn these right sides out, and then we're going to top stitch. So I'm going to go back to my iron, I'm going to turn them right sides out, and then I'm going to press, and then we'll come back and top stitch them. All right, so I've turned them right sides out and given them a press. Now we need to top stitch along the top long edge. And you can top stitch along the edge where your fold is if you want, where that fold was where we sewed the seam together, or you can top stitch along the top here that doesn't have that seam. I'm going to top stitch along the edge without the seam, just personal preference. No particular reason. I just think it looks a little bit cleaner to me when you don't see that little seam from the two pieces being joined together, or in this case, two halves. And again, it's just a personal preference. You don't have to do it that way. You should see all the little black threads that have fallen all over my floor. I'm going to need to vacuum. Looks like spiders. All right, so I have top stitched along the top edges, the long edges. So not the raw edges, the edges that were left raw, the folded edge. Now we're going to grab back our card slots. Oops. And we need to take the card slots and pull it back. So pull it away so you have the card slots out of the way and just the zipper pocket at the top. And we're going to sandwich each side of the zip pocket with the center of the wing. So fold your wings in half. And I see a thread I'm going to cut. Oh, these threads, they're driving me bonkers. So I'm just going to fold this in half and finger press it. Another one, and it's stuck up in my top stitching. Look how long that was. Fold it in half, finger press it. And now, again, so just our zipper pocket. My two card slots, as you see, are down, and I just have this zipper pocket here. I'm going to fold this over. You know what I want it to be the other way. I really like this flower. It's really pretty, so I want that to be facing out. All right, so it's folded in half. Where the fold is, I'm going to place the card slot. And I'm just reading it. So the top edge of your zip pocket is where you want that wing to be. So the top edge being right here, not where the zipper is, but the edge here where your fabric is. So we're going to fold it in half, bring it over. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to baste stitch the sides of my zipper pocket. Hopefully I didn't miss that in a step. I'm very sorry if I did. But I'm just going to baste stitch my zipper pocket together so it doesn't move. I'm reaching for my scissors and they weren't there. And I'm just going to trim these threads. I just don't want that zipper pocket to to move on me while I'm trying to place it in the center of the wing. So lining up the top of the wings, the top stitched edge of my wing with the top here. I'm taking my time because I want everything to be lined up perfectly. So push the edge of the zipper pocket into the wing, and you'll feel it right in the center there on the center fold. So just like that. So see how my wing, the top edge is lined up with the top edge of my top stitched edge of my zipper pocket. That's what you want. Repeat that for the second side. I'm just going to do this all at once. Make sure you have all your threads snipped because you don't want them poking out the top after. Everything all lined up. So that's how it'll look. So here's my wing. I've just pulled it back. It lines up with the top edge of the fabric on the zipper pocket, and it's right against the folded edge of the wing, just like that. Now we're going to top stitch this in place using the seam allowance given in the pattern. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my needle down first so that it makes sure nothing shifts there. And I'm really back stitching at the top just to ensure that nothing shifts on me, and I'm feeling underneath, making sure that wing didn't accidentally get folded backwards. Trim those threads. So that's one side. Now I'm going to repeat that for the second side, and again I'm going to start with my needle down inside my fabric. And that's actually something I do with my industrial machine, and I do like that when I'm starting something like this, starting with the needle down. Just make sure that nothing shifts on you. All right, so your wings are now attached. So you have a piece that looks like this. So these are my card slots down here, and these are my wings and my zipper pocket. So that's taking care of the raw edges of your zipper pocket right now. So next, now that both of the wings are attached on both sides, I just did them both at the same time. If you haven't, that's okay. What you'll do is just do the second side the same way we attached the first side. Now you're going to unfold the card slots and open the wings and match up the raw edges of the card slots. So you'll match them up to the raw edges of the card slots. And this may take a bit of work, but what I did, so I'm going to show you what I did. It's going to be a little bit hard, is I have my wings facing out. I flip my card slots or my zipper pocket over, and then I just pushed the wing in and folded it in, and I'm making sure it lines up so the top of the wing and the bottom of the wing still line up with it sewn to the zipper pocket. So it's all still lining up where it is on the zipper pocket. So everything is still lining up, and I'm clipping it in place. So again, here's my wing sticking out. I just reach underneath and I slide it and fold it and make sure it's not pleated or anything. And I'm just folding it flat. So see, it just went in and I'm folding it flat and making sure that the top and the bottom edge of the wing still all line up. Pinning it to that card slot. I don't want anything shifting on me. And that's how it looks pinned to the card slot. So see here, the wing is behind and I've got it clipped, but the top of the wing here lines up with the top of the wing on the zipper pocket and the bottom as well. So now we're going to sew this And I'm just reading. Where does it say? And there should be. And I just want to make sure, because it's telling you how much of a gap there should be from this here, the center. So your seam on your card slots, where we joined the card slots together, there's a measurement for how much room should be between the bottom of the card slots, or from the center of the card slots to the bottom edge of the wings, and mine is good. And that's how you'll know that you've got this pinned correctly together. So we're going to baste this together. And I'm going to baste the other side, making sure everything stays lined up. And I put my needle down first so that I didn't shift anything. Alrighty, so I've trimmed the threads, making sure that the middle of the card slots to the bottom are accurate. They are, yes! It's always such a happy accomplishment. Now we're going to repeat that for the second side, and it's going to feel a little bit tricky because now you have one of the card slots already attached. So just fold your wings out, flip it over, and do the same thing. Tuck that wing in, keeping it lined up with the bottom and the top of the wing that's already attached to your zipper pocket, and pin it in place. So mine lines up at the top and the bottom of the zipper pocket wing, or the part that's attached. And if you have that lined up, your measurement at the bottom, from the bottom of the cards, the zipper pocket to the center of the card slots, will be accurate. So it'll look like this right now. Look, we already have a wallet looking, something that looks like a wallet already. Baste it together, and you can just move these layers out of the way. Don't be afraid to do that. It is quilting cotton, so it's not going to really do anything. I'm just moving it out of the way to fit it underneath my presser foot. The second side, because I'm going from the bottom up, is a little bit harder. But I'm making it work. Ta-da! Just be careful when you're snipping threads that you don't accidentally snip things that you don't want snipped. And look at, we have a wallet, and we can even check that our cards will fit, if I can get it in, which I can. This is awesome. All my cards fit perfectly. Oops. There we go. So we have that completed. Now we're going to finish the wallet. We're getting near the end. So we need to grab our exterior mane, and we need to match up one side edge of the wallet to the side edge of the lining with the wing. So you're lining it up with the wing. So line up your top corner here. I'm going to do this. I'm going to line up the top corners, and I'm going to pin it. And then I'm going to line up the bottom corners and pin it. And you know what I'm going to do actually instead? First, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this in half and find the center, because the center of this will be where that crease, or that seam is, sorry, for when we attached our card slots together. So I've got centers here and centers here. So back to what I was saying. Line up your top corners, pin those together, and then the other corner, pin it together. And this is going to feel really wonky to sew, but I promise it all works out in the end. Ow. Oh. So you have to tuck in your wing to be able to sew this together. So tuck that wing in. So you're pushing it in towards the zipper pocket. So you're pushing the zipper pocket in as well. You're pushing all of that in. And I'm taking that center mark that I made here and lining it up with the center seam from my card slots. And I'm pinning. And I'm going to use a lot of pins, or in this case clips, so that everything stays together. It just feels wonky because we have that wing there that's attached, that's kind of pulling everything away on you. Now you can hand baste this in place. It does say to hand baste, but I'm a rebel, so I'm just going to go for it and sew it, because hand basting or hand stitching and I are not really friends. All right, and I'm going to go really slow. So if you've hand stitched, now you're stitching this, and I'm stitching with my lining against the bed of my machine, just so that I can see what I'm doing here. And I can keep moving the fabrics out of the way as I'm going along. I'm going to move this over here. This is the part where it's going to be a little bit tricky, is when we're coming through this rounded edge. But just take your time. I know you can do it. And that was why I used a lot of clips as well, because the clips will help hold everything in place as you're sewing along. And there we go. Very nice. Now we have to repeat this for the second side, and it's going to seem a little bit wonky, but you want to make sure that it's not twisted. And the way to do that is just take this, fold it over, so that everything is right sides together. So here it is, it's attached. See how it looks like that? I'm bringing it and folding it over. So everything is right sides together now. Making sure nothing is twisted. We don't want anything twisted. And I'm going to push that wing out of the way. Find the centers. Oops. And again, it's going to be even wonkier to sew and feel wonkier because you have one side that's already attached and it wants to pull away from you. But we're going to pull it. Don't be afraid to pull and move it over so that you can get it pinned. Make sure everything is nice and flat underneath so that nothing is twisted or bunched up. You don't want pleats or anything like that. And then once we get that done, you can again hand stitch it in place. Again, I'm a rebel, so I'm not going to hand stitch. This is pulling because it's stuck to the other side. That's what I was saying. It's going to be a bit wonky because it's pulling. My top edge here is not lined up very nicely, so I'm going to repin it. All right, so you see it's kind of hard to pin this because, like I said, it's pulling on the second side, but you can do it, just take your time. Now, you can hand stitch this if you want. I'm, again, a rebel, and I'm not going to, so I'm just going to stitch it, and see, this is pulling. I don't like that. It's not straight anymore or lined up. I don't know what happened, but it's not lined up anymore. So we're going to adjust. There we go. All right. So now we're going to sew this using the seam allowance given in the pattern. Putting my needle down so that it holds everything up there. Oops, moved off my fabric. And you really want to make sure that, because you have that second side pulling on it, that everything stays together. You can use a stiletto here if you want to help you to hold everything together as you're going. Again, I'm being a rebel. This is where it gets a little bit trickier because we're in sort of a circular area. It's rounded. But as you notice, I'm just taking my time, making sure everything is smoothed out. Layers are smooth underneath. And done. Let's trim our threads. Also, make sure you've cut all your layers, which I have, so you see I've cut all the layers. Now we can turn the wallet right sides out. And you will have some of your exterior showing on your lining. So I'm just going to roll my seams. And I'm going to use some clips to hold it in place, because I can't press this area of my wallet because I have used this really pretty soft vinyl and I don't want to damage it. So this is where clips will be very helpful. Clips are just going to help press this temporarily. Oops. Having a hard time holding this all. What's going on here? I gotta get it all flattened. While you're flattening it, so I'm taking my time getting it all flattened and everything, push your wings in. You can, when we're done, clip them as well so that they're clipped in overnight, and that'll train them to naturally want to go that way. Ooh. But that's how it's looking. So see how you have this pretty little trim? I like it with the little trim like that. So that's different from the original one I tested, which I like it. I really do. All right, so now we need to, I'm going to just remove these clips for now because we need to insert our interfacing inside the wallet. But what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to make sure that this is pressed. I know this is probably boring, but it's good for you to see what I'm doing. This wing keeps popping out. We're going to fix that later. And I'm just using my hand to finger press this right now. All right. Now we need to add our interfacing. So that's this piece here. Now, if you need to trim, which I think I'm going to need to trim mine, I don't think I cut it the correct width, which I did not. I don't know why I cut it bigger. That's really weird. So I'm going to need to trim this down to fit it in. So I'm going to go do that. And then what we're going to do is insert this inside our wallet all the way through. So you want it to go in so it's nice and flat all the way through. So I'm just going to go trim mine up a bit, and then I'll come right back and I'll show you how we get that in there. All right, so I trimmed it up to the correct width. Now we need to insert this into the wallet, and this is going to be a little bit tricky, but you want to slip it in and you want it to be facing the exterior fabric. And I know, again, I have used a soft vinyl, but I will use a pressing cloth when I go to press this towards, or press this so that it fuses to my exterior. I'll use a pressing cloth between the exterior and the iron. And it does get a little bit tricky, but what I do, because I'm trying to be really perfect with it right now, but the nice thing is we can adjust. So you just gotta get it so that it's, oh, I see a part here that I've got to restitch down. I see a part of my wallet that's coming out. Top of my wing, it didn't get caught in right here. So I'm going to pause the camera, I'm going to fix that, and then I'll be right back. All right, so I've got that all fixed. Now we can go back to getting the interfacing pushed back into the wallet. And again, this is going to be a little bit tricky because the wallet is shaped already. And you just want to it's hard to see what I'm doing, but it's hard to keep it on camera while I'm doing this. But I'm just wiggling it in. It's really not easy to do. Side done, and it kind of just went on its own. Now I just gotta maneuver this over because one side is more than the other, and I gotta pull this way a bit. Sort of went on its own once I kind of went to the center and tried to fix it there. This has given me a workout. And if it takes you longer to do this, don't worry. It's not a race, it's not a contest. You want to make sure you get it as nice as possible. Just trying to make sure all the way around matches. I'm trying to push this seam where the exterior and lining are attached towards the exterior, just because it gives it that little extra seam allowance and extra strength there. I don't know. I just like it. I just don't like it behind my lining. I just find there's a lot of bulk there behind the lining already with the card slots and everything attached. And I just like how it feels along the edges. It just feels like it'll be stronger when the wallet is completed. With the seam going that way, like it feels nice there. Just adds that extra strength. And I can see that my interfacing is not pulled enough this way. So I just need to slide it. It's not easy. The interfacing has that glue which kind of sticks to the wrong side of the soft vinyl, because the soft vinyl has a bit of a texture to it. It's tricky, but I think I've got it. And I may need to trim my interfacing. I'm just going to keep manipulating this. If you need to trim the top of your interfacing so it is even with your top of your wallet, go ahead and do that. But I think mine might be good. I'm just pinning it now all across the top, lining everything up, because we're going to sew this at the top. So I'm just clipping and pinning along the top edges now. And see, it took me a little bit to get it, but it was worth the fight. I got it done. And like I said, I'm going to take this to my iron after, and I'm going to use a pressing cloth to press it between the iron and my wallet so that this fuses to it. And I'm just lining up everything, the exterior and the lining. Now, when I get this all clipped and sewn together, if I need to trim my interfacing, I will, once I baste this together. Oops. It's funny because it seems like the exterior on this side is not wanting to pull up high enough. There we go. And my seam went the wrong way, turned in towards the lining on me. Sorry this is taking so long. I should have paused this, but I guess it's good for you to see what I'm doing. There we go. So we have the wallet all done, and you can see the exterior shows on the lining, which I really like. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to baste so hang on a second. Oh, wait, I do have to fuse this in place right now, so I am going to go off camera and I'm going to fuse it in place. And then we have the shorter strips of Decoville that we need to fuse. So I'm going to go off camera, I'm going to fuse this, I'm going to use a pressing cloth between, and I'm going to fuse this in place, and then I will come back. Sorry, I was going to baste along the top, but we don't do that yet. Oh, and while I'm off camera, like I was saying, we have these two to fuse in. So you have 4 pieces of Decoville strips. You're going to take them and put them one on top of the other and fuse them inside on top along the top edge. And this will be done for both sides just so that this is thicker on the top edges here, and that'll help with the strength for the hardware that's going in. So we're going to fuse those in place too. So fuse them right on top. So you'll open it up, you can fuse it right on top. Now remember, your tacky side of your Decoville is against your exterior. So when you slide them in, you'll slide them in on the lining side, right along the top edge, and fuse them in place. So I'm going to go do that, and then I'll come back, and then we will be able to continue on and add our clasp. All right, so I've given that a press, and I've also added those interfacings, the 2 extra interfacings in here, and I fused them to the other Decoville. Now we're going to baste across these short edges. This will help hold everything in place. Go back and trim up my threads after. Sorry, I was just trying to think while I was doing that. Now, if you're finding your machine is struggling because it's a lot of layers with the Decoville and everything in there, you can always try using a bigger needle and then adjusting your stitch length to make it longer, and also adjusting your tension and your presser foot tension too. So now, what we're going to do is insert the female half of our frame onto our wallet. And because we base stitched along, that helps really make it like really easy to slip this on, because I was trying with my wallets that I made previously, and I was trying to slip them on without basting, and just because I was being lazy, to be honest with you, and it was really hard, and then I was like, I don't know why I'm fighting it, so I ended up basting it. All right, so you'll put the wallet on, and it doesn't matter what side, the frame on the wallet, and then you're going to trace out the opening. And I'll do it on both sides. And I have little tools that I use. I'm just going to grab all my tools that I use for this. Just have to remember where they are. I have cutters that cut out these holes, and I need my hammer. Now, I will pause the camera when I go to hammer because it is pretty loud, but sorry about that. What I do is I have these little cutters. Now, you can use your scissors to cut this out, but I have these little cutters that are all these shapes. Just trying to find where those ones are without cutting my fingers. I think that might be good. I think this one is the one that matches, but I'm just going to make sure with the other ones. And I just got this off of Amazon, so nothing really fancy. Yeah, this is going to be too wide. They're oily. I just don't want it to be where it's too wide and then it cuts too much. And then what I do is I lay it on top and I line it up with the mark I made. And I just hammer this piece down. So this is my little piece here, it's a little tool, and it's sharp. It's a leather punch tool set. And then I just hammer it. So I'm going to pause the camera and I'll be right back. So I've cut that little hole out just like that, and I even cut the top piece. I'll show you this way, it's easier to see. So the top piece here, and then when I slide my frame on, I can't believe I just forgot what the word was. When I slide my frame on, you'll see that it fits perfectly and there is no material there. So we've cut that out. Now what we need to do is add some glue inside the frame, and I just use Beacon 3-in-1 glue. Now you want the screws to be on the lining side of the wallet. Make sure everything is tucked in and nice and neat. Grab our screws. Just see what screws fit. I think I need my smaller screwdriver. Although that one seems to fit. I like this because it's magnetic. I think this is too big. I need my other screwdriver set. These are too big. Just a smidge too big. Everything's falling on me. This is where you can tell my hands are starting to give up on me. All these handy tools. All right, so perfect. The other one was just a smidge too big. Making sure that frame is pushed down. We're going to screw the screws in, and you know what? Because I'm fighting with this so much, I'm actually going to pause this and I'm just going to do this off of camera because I always seem to fight with the screws the most, even though this one just went for me. So I'm going to do the rest of the screws off camera, but you just screw in all the screws. So I will be right back. Oh, and before I go away, you're going to repeat that for the second frame. Add some glue, slip the frame on, put the frame in. Make sure the male side is on the lining side of the wallet, and then you'll attach it, and there's your wallet. So you'll attach the male side of the frame as well. So I'm going to do that off camera as well. So glue in the channel, put it in, screws again facing on the lining side, the male side facing towards the inside of the female side, and then screw it in, and then we'll come back. So my frame is all attached and my wallet is now complete. So we have our zipper pocket here. You can use this for coins, or if you're like me, you don't really have a lot of coins, so I put just some extra papers or pieces of cards or whatever in here that I don't really want to lose. So I put those inside a zipper pocket. You have your card slots, a slip pocket here for bills. You can put pens or anything inside these areas, and more card slots. Wallet closes up, everything is nice and safe. Now your wings, if you find they are sticking out, I pushed mine in just like that, and that seems to be holding them. Now if every time you open and close the wallet you're finding your wings are not folding back inside the wallet as they should, you can add some clips and clip them in place overnight if you want, and that'll help train them. And there is a tip for making it more rounded. When you give the wallet another really good press for a more rounded shape, cup it in the palm of your hand after pressing, and that'll round out the bottom of your wallet just like that. But I like mine a little bit flatter because I have another wallet and I'm just finding that I'm liking these flatter wallets now because it fits inside your bag. It's really slim and it saves room inside your bag rather than having big wallets. And this is nice because you have the 12 card slots, so lots of room for cards, and you still have the zipper pocket here for coins or any other things that you want to keep safe and not have just loose inside your wallet. And you have a slot, you can put bills in here, and then you could put receipts in one side and then other stuff on this side, any other paperwork you need. It's just a really handy wallet. Throw it inside your purse and it won't take up a whole lot of space, but will hold a lot of items. So there it is, your Wonder Wallet by the Makespace is all complete. I hope you enjoyed sewing along with me and maybe picked up a few tips and tricks along the way. I'm looking forward to seeing all your beautiful wallets. Once you make one, you're going to want to make more because this does really come together. I know the tutorial is a bit longer, but it does really come together really quickly. Once you make one, you're very familiar with it and it'll come together quickly. The tutorial, I just go into explaining things a lot more, and sometimes things like the screws don't want to play nicely. I think the thing that took me the longest, if you've noticed, was adding that interfacing here, but didn't take me as long as one of the other ones I made. One of the other ones I did during testing previously took me forever and I actually gave up and walked away for a while. So again, that is our Wonder Wallet. It is all complete. I hope you enjoyed sewing along with me and picked up some tips and tricks. Thank you for sewing with me. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Bye.